Welcome to Budget Fight, where we'll be talking about cards under a dollar? I wouldn't say a dollar, but Cardfight cards on a budget. With the release of Dragon Tree Invasion, we have come to realize that Cardfight is starting to get a little bit on the pricier side, and some of the staple cards that we have loved and become to cherish and constantly need and want for some of our archetypes, like Inlet Pulses, like Swirlers. Even with the reprints, sometimes card fighters just might not have that budget to be able to afford them. So we'll talk about budget replacements that might not be the best, but they will for sure fulfill some of the needs that you will require. It's your boy J.J here. Welcome, howdy neighbor. Hopefully y'all are doing well. So first things first, let's talk about the first card of today in the Dragon Empire. First one up is Best Harvest, which is also sitting right now at about 50 cents a piece on Card Market and about $1.50 on TCG Player. It is a relatively inexpensive card that allows you to be played in multiple formats, in premium and in overdress. It is predominantly played a lot in Eugene, but I think especially with set 10 rolling around Dragon Masquerade, it does give you a way of being able to recoup card advantage while playing an archetype like Endiva. So make sure to hopefully have a playset when an archetype rolls around, which is supposedly the only expensive thing about that entire set might just be the grade 3. A lot of the cards within Endiva are really cheap. It has its own card charge, it has its own form of card draw, and having an extra layer of card draw allows you to dig into more pieces and resources to allow you to do so. That's moving on to one of my favorite some of my favorite cards that have been released recently. The set and one of our older ones that's gonna get an honorable mention as well. Hopefully y'all like digging for some commons or rares within your bulk, because this is one of the ones you're probably going to want to take out. This is Burrow Mushrooms. It is one of the newest grade ones that came out in set number 9. It being able to put 2 plant tokens on a board to be able to get you extra bodies and also facilitating soul in archetypes like Roa, Grantia, and possibly even Zorga. That might be a little bit more niche than you would think, but it does give you ways of being able to accrue soul, call rear guards, and be able to give you extra pressure. The 5k power does unfortunately or fortunately work a bit better in Granthia, but the 2 tokens and soul is phenomenal and can be used in multiple different archetypes as well. Maybe Neo Nectar, and especially with Katarina being back, it's a way of being able to create plant tokens with just using 1 rear guard and giving you Soul Blast to facilitate for some of your other skills and effects. An honorable mention within the Stoicheia Nation themselves is also Sleeve Tugging Bell. She's a relatively cheap card too that got released in BTO2, and it does allow you to put all the cards in your bind zone back into your drop zone again, and especially with Messiah rolling around hopefully within the future somewhere during in the summer, this might be a card you might want to have tech out in some of your Stoicheia decks to play around that matchup, since locking your cards ends up binding your cards too, which can be very annoying for Stoicheia decks, knowing that your Roman Prison Dragon or any of your Inlet Pulses are now in your bind zone and you can't really have access to them anymore. It's a good 1 of to 2 of. I don't know if you want to run 3, that might seem a little bit heavy-handed, but it is a good card overall to have in your back pocket in case things get a little hairy. And it's also a good card ran in a lot of Grand Blue decks too in premium as well. So this is a way that if you're playing into Narukami, it does give you way more chances of being able to play the long game with them. Now we have the grade 1 that came out recently in Dragon Tree Invasion. It is Steam Scoura Zargon, giving your rear guard or your Vanguard the ability and skill of being able to choose 2 cards from your drop zone to put into your soul. It has been seen some plays in budget versions of Chronojet. It is a lot of cheaper option than Gungunrum, because he's currently about a $13 to $15 card at the moment as a double rare, and this does give you a cheap alternative. Sadly enough, it does not accrue its own power, so you will suffer a little bit of not having the extra pressure that those other cards can give you, like Swirler, like Gungunrum, but it can help you feed back into your Steam GGs, and it does give you ways of being able to accrue card advantage. It does need to hit, however, and on hits predominantly in Cardfight have kind of been frowned upon, but this is one of the rare instances in Overdress. Since the shield value is relatively low, this actually hits a little bit more times than not, and Falkit Cat also being a $15 card does make it a little bit more difficult, so I can see this being played in stuff like Drujuled, stuff like Chronojet. It is a very, very good card. It's a budget option. It is not going to replace some of the best cards you have, but it's a good step in the direction of being able to play the game. Now we go off to the brand gate. Right on the cusp of the outside, we will talk about the galactic hero, Flattened Suffrey. Being able to counterblast one and retire upon his rearguard in front row is a card that has not been seen in a very long time outside of something like Dragon Empire, and this is a very good addition to something for Brandgate, being able to get rid of some of your opponent's threats that might be poking you in the front row that you kind of want to focus Vanguard, but you can't quite get there sometimes, and it does give you a lot of early game pressure being grade 2, being played on grade 2. So if your opponent and you are playing the grade 2 game, this had seen a lot of predominant play in Messiah, in the OCG, and I can see it being added to those decks as well in the future. So pick you up some of these. They're very, very good. They're sort of like a pseudo Eden, but just on place, so you get to choose whenever you want to activate these. They're 10k vanillas, unless you're playing bases, of course, but outside of that, they're very good additions to your deck that allows you to temper out a lot of pressure against your opponent and not even have to commit any extra resources of being able to clear your opponent's board while applying pressure. This is a great card and a good addition to any Brandgate decks in the future, so pick them up while they're hot. With the advent of Vanguard, we kind of need to ask ourselves, how are we going to be able to countercharge in his deck successfully without breaking our banks to buy reprints of Bubble Mine? So I thought, hey, why not run Rough Trample Monster Mega Garago? It is a on-hit countercharge 1. You could put this behind your Vanguard. You could run up to 2 to 3 copies of this. It is starting to spike up in price a little bit because a lot of people are kind of queued into this right now. It is also a monster card, so you could run this in Arakite as well as if you want to. If you don't want to break your bank on Bubble Mines for that either, it is a monster. It is on hit. Does need to boost though to get the ability to go out, but I think that's fine. It's a very good alternative of not having to spend 13 bucks, 13 to 10 bucks for a double rare. Now we're here in Keter Sanctuary. I did not really mention too many cards for Keter Sanctuary as budget options because I'll be very honest with you, Keter is it's a relatively expensive deck. And some of the budget options, sadly enough, are very specific to archetypes or don't really net you the pluses that you need immediately. And the cards that we mentioned on list today are cards that you can slam into your deck. They don't overall affect your game plan that you're going for, and it actually adds more to your deck. And if I were to suggest the other cards that might have been for Keter for you, most of them are orders, and oftentimes they're kind of dead in your hand when you have multiple of them. And I want you to be able to actively be able to play the game every single turn. So now we have Magic of Alteration Tunar. It's a grade 2. At the end of the battle, while this unit is boosted, if your damage zone has 3 or more face down, put this into your soul and countercharge 1. Especially with set 10, Dragon Masquerade rolling around, you have Solarion, which is an archetype that uses a bit of soul for some of its grade 1, some of its grade 2, and especially if you're probably considering to run like Painkiller Angels and Babka, which is the grade 2 Keter triple rare, which is currently sitting at about 20 apiece. You do sometimes need a little bit of soul and a bit of countercharge. You do need the soul, and it does need to be boosted, but oftentimes on Solarian, you do get a base of 5k power additionally, and you're getting up towards to about 4 to 5 attacks sometimes in Solarian. So I think that's fine to have a situation where, so you can attack for like 15 with a Bab, attack with the Tunara, and if you have 3 or more damage face down. Sadly enough, you do need to be about 3 damage or so, but by the time you get into your grade 3 turn, you should be around like 3 or 4 damage, possibly before before using any of these effects. So this should be okay to resolve. So this is gonna be it for us for today, everyone. This is the honorable mention. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Let me know if you want any more cards to talk about on this budget series. We're gonna kind of try to do this a little bit more often. If you want us to explore more formats, just let us know in the comment section below. So be awesome, stay awesome, have a wonderful day. Thank you for tuning in and stopping on by. This has been your boy JJ, and until next time.
Fill my heart with song and let me sing forevermore. You are all I long for, all I worship and adore. In other words, please be true. In other words, I love you.